Good afternoon, Manas.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am.
So, when you talk about Buddhism, you have two different schools, right? And those different schools tells us how to live, right? What the life is and how it should be, right? So, what are the kind of schools that we discussed? First one was Pratityasamutpada, right? Which says dependent origination. Pratitya means dependent and Samutpada means origination, right? And what it says that everything in this world is connected, right? If you and I and anything that is existing in this planet is existing, that the reason behind is that we all are dependent on each other, right? Then we have another one. What was the next one, Saptarishi? What was the second one? Shanikavada. Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which talks about momentariness. What it says that anything in this world is existing, then for a moment it is there, right? It is going to vanish, it is going to diminish after some time, right? This is the rule of the world, right? Then what was the third one?
Third one is Nirvana.
What was it, Manas?
It is Narathmavad, the doctrine of no soul.
Nirvana. It says that there is no soul. The idea of I is not existing, right? So now because it is not believing in momentariness, right? It is not agreeing that anything can be like existing in the society in this world for a longer time. So for sure that they are not going to exist and believe in soul theory, right? And it says that this concept of I, it is not existing. It is not going to exist forever, right? So these were the things that we were discussing. Now, when we talk about it, let's understand Buddhism theory with few current examples that I have come up with. So, first one is, so these are the people who did some crime, and I'll be introducing to you them, and then you will be telling me that how these three schools of Buddhism, pretending to be injured or using his charm, right? So these are the things. This is how he used to talk to women, right? And used to victimize them. So once a woman trusted him, he used to force to take her to a quiet place and used to assault them and kill them, right? So these were the things that he used to do. Now, when he was convicted, he gave one verdict. He says that basically the person that I was before, the one who was doing these crimes, right? That was different, right? So this is what he says, that basically the crimes that I was doing, right? They were different. So by this, he says that someone else was in me, right? The person who was committing this crime was different, right? So next we have. So I'll tell you the story behind it, and we'll discuss one by one. Okay, when it's come to tech, what do you think? Like how you're going to pull Pratityasamutpada over it? Dependent origination. What do you think about it?
Well, basically, Pratityasamutpada basically means the doctrine of dependent origination. So I think the crimes he was doing that was actually because of some uh, emotional or philosophical, psychological some situations inside his head or something like this. His mental situation was the cause why he did this. So this can be described as the cause of the events that occurred due to this, like the crimes he did. So in that sense, that these crimes are dependent on the mental situation of this criminal.
Yes. When we talk about Pratitya Samarpada, it says the dependent origination, that everything is connected, right? When there is a position, there is a reason to it, right? So, for example, I explained it to you that he was facing certain things in his like childhood, right? The trauma he was going through. So everything is connected. Whatever actions he came up with, they were connected, right? And we can also say that the society might have like influenced or might have said something to it, right? And that's it. That is why his actions were basically like that. Manas, what do you think about it?
Yes, ma'am, I got it, ma'am.
Do you want to explain it?
Ma'am, from Pratityasamutpada, if we discuss this, if we analyze the character of Ted Bundy, I see the crimes he committed as the Samutpada, and the Pratitya are his environment, his childhood, and all the things that caused the crime.
Yes, when we were talking about childhood, can we refer it with ignorance, avidya, right? So basically, he thought that whatever he felt in his childhood, right, that was the reality. So he considered that part of his life affected it, right? So this is what ignorance, avidya, right? Then this
Yes.
egoistic craving for dominance will be called what? We read this in the last class. What it will be?
Samaskara, mental formation.
Okay, Manas.
Ma'am, I couldn't get it. Please, cannot come.
I want to know that this egoistic craving for dominance that he had, that he was killing women, right? And when he started killing, like he killed one or two, then there was urge in it, right? That I want to kill more. So what it will be?
It is
Like,
clinging,
okay, it's
Craving,
very good.
Prashna.
Clinging
craving,
was there, craving.
craving and clinging.
Yes, very good. Okay, so when we talk about this habit of manipulation, right? And this violation formation, what it will be? What do you think it will be? Saptarishi.
Yes, ma'am. Basically, if he is actually manipulating and all that, I think that would be becoming a power, like uh, actually controlling the victims in that regard.
Okay. So if we are correcting it with like Pratityasamutpada, dependent origination, then can we say that this ignorance, this craving, and then suffering, these are like basically related, and that's what Buddhism says to us?
Yes,
Yes. And when we talk about another thing, Shanikavada, which talks about momentariness,
that's
how will you
what
fit this
that's what
going
he
thing?
claimed. Well,
Yes,
he
how will
claimed
you fit?
that whatever was done by the crimes were done by someone else inside him. So basically, he's claiming that he has changed over time. So in Shania, Shanikavada basically means that the doctrine of momentariness, like everything changes with the time. With the time, everything changes, nothing is fixed. So in that regard, he was actually claiming that uh, Shanikavada basically means that he has changed over time. So he should not be punished for the crimes that were done by someone else who was earlier in his place.
Okay, perfect. Manas?
Ma'am, Kshenikavada, as we see, he says that I am not the same person who did this. That happened by something which I don't understand. That means the action he does, it lasts for a moment only. It is temporary. Then in the other moment, he thinks that I am a different person. I did not do that.
Okay. So can we say that the feelings that he was having, the emotions that he was having were changing, right? At 9 p.m. he might be very violent, right? But at some point he was calm. So this differentiation shows us what? Momentariness, and also we can understand it by comparing it his childhood and adulthood also, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
was any momentariness seen over here in these examples, in these cases?
Yes, ma'am. Momentariness is being seen because ultimately the experiences that he have gathered during his childhood has actually changed and shaped his mental state or the avidya that he has gathered uh, because of the because of the ignorance that he have actually experienced in his childhood ultimately has shaped who he was and ultimately the change in him. So yeah, that's example of momentariness.
Yes, and when we talk about Nirvana, which talks about I, right? So how will you fit this in here, this Buddhism school? That he was constantly thinking about himself, right? He was in the form of ignorance. He didn't understand that this Nirvana, basically, there is like no soul, right? So this was against the Buddhism theory, Buddhism school, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is what Buddhism says, that I is an illusion that is created by mental aggregates, right? So the craving to assert that I led to immense suffering, right? Okay, so we'll do one more and then this you have to tell me. Okay, about Jeffrey. So he was very lonely and isolated and deeply confused about basically intimacy, right? So he started by assaulting young men and then moved into murder. So his crimes included attempts to stop his victims from leaving by controlling them or by killing them. Because he didn't want to leave those people, so he killed them. So that those people, so this is like a psychological factor that he was facing. So because they didn't want to leave, right? Leave them, so he killed them so that those people can stay with them. Mentally they can stay with them. So this was Jeffrey did. So now how will you connect it with all the three schools of Buddhism that we have discussed so far?
Uh, well, basically, in that sense, Pratityasamutpada basically means the dependent origination. Like the crime that he has committed is the because of the loneliness he has felt. So the loneliness and the psychological disorder that he was facing is the reason, is the cause for the crime that he has caused. So in that sense, this is the doctrine of dependent origination, and then ultimately Sanikshavada basically means the momentariness, like he actually wanted to capture the moment or whatever was there with the victims that he has killed. He wanted to capture these victims with him, and thus he killed them to actually I think he wanted to actually uh, grab the moment in himself only, like stealing the moment around himself to avoid loneliness. So in that sense, it is the doctrine of momentariness, and ultimately Nirvana Vada basically means the doctrine of no permanent self or I. Basically, he thought about himself, like he was lonely, and he actually thought about it that he was always lonely. So he actually to have people around him, he actually started killing people to stop them from living. He actually thought about himself to be with people that he thought about. So basically, in that sense, this is the doctrine of no permanent soul or self.
Yes. Manas, do you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Manas?
From Pratityasamutpada angle, we can say that the avidya dominated his mental formations, for which he was involved in cannibalism and necrophilia. By murdering 17 young men, he developed the feelings, the craving, and he developed the craving for it. Then by clinging into these activities, he became what he became. So this he developed the bhava. So
Yes. So when we talk about Shanikavada, so he said that the person who did this is not here anymore. He said the same thing. So this matches with Shanikavada Buddhism school, right? Momentariness, right?
yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
what
sir.
do you think after hearing, or we should like follow this Buddhism theory, like how Buddhism should have like reacted in this story, in this case, in the terms of Shanikavada?
From
Manas,
Well, I
from
think yes.
From
yes,
Kshanikavada point of view, ma'am, we can say that the person who actually committed all these crimes, he's stating in a later stage that I am not the person who did it, and I do not recognize even the person who did all these things. So that means the things he did, his mood swing is momentary. In one moment he feels something else, and in another moment he felt something else.
yes. So even there is like one thing that we have to consider, that moral responsibility. Keeping everything in mind that what he went through, still there is moral responsibility that everyone should have, right? Shanikamala talks about momentariness, but it also talks about moral values that we should have, right? Buddhism also talks about. It talks about living peaceful, right? So this is what we should follow. Saptarishi, you want to say something?
Uh, no, ma'am, but I want to just say that Mehak has actually sent a message that her midterm examination is starting from Monday, so she's preparing for it, and thus she is missing the classes. She is seeing the recorded classes, and from 1st of November, she shall be present at the class.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Saptarishi.
Yes,
Okay. So next we have Dennis. So he lived a very normal life. Outwardly, job was there, family was there, church was there, and hidden from everyone was a ritual he developed over many years. So he used to stalk victims, plan carefully, and return to a private violent ritual that gave him a sense of absolute control. So he also liked to taunt the police and public, like sending letters, and basically he used to show his power. And the same example that we discussed in the last class. Right? So how will you link it with the theories of Buddhism? Quickly. Let's start with Manas.
Yes, ma'am. From Pratityasamutpada, uh, if we can explain this, he murdered 10 people, and he says that I am in me two different persons. That means the person who committed the crime is motivated by something else that led to that. His crime was caused by something else, and but as he's saying that I have two persons in me, and I'm sorry for what BTK did. So by saying this, from his statement, Kshanikavada also is being reflected, because in one person, in one moment, he was another person, and and after committing the crime, he became another person.
Yes. So basically, his two self, one which he was living as a father, as a family member, right, and another one as a serial killer. So these two self basically made a division between cause and effect that it is going through, right? And this was Pratityasamutpada. Next, who will explain us, Saptarishi?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, I think that in this case, Pratityasamutpada basically is dependent on origination. So I think whatever he actually uh, craved for sadistic pleasure while taunting the police. So this is the main cause of the whatever actions he did as BTK killer and taunting the police officers. The sadistic pleasure that he got from these crimes actually motivated him actually to do the crimes. In that sense, this is the doctrine of dependent origination. And then ultimately, when he's saying that whatever the BTK person has done actually has nothing to do with me, basically, I am sorry for this. Basically means that he has already changed from the person that has committed a crime. Basically, he is rejecting the crimes of his and actually saying that the moment, the experiences and the moment has actually changed him to a different person now. So in that sense, this is the Shanikavada basically means that the doctrine of momentariness, and ultimately he is actually when we talk about Vada, basically means that he is actually emphasizing on his own actions, like rejecting whatever he has done and actually implementing that he is sorry for that. Basically, he is giving importance to himself only. This is the doctrine of no self or no permanent soul or self.
Okay, perfect. Next, last we have Alien, and basically she killed 7 men, right? So first she said that she killed them because in a self-defense, but then later on she admitted that she killed them because she was angry, right? So what it says about these two philosophy of Buddhism, and as rest of the killers, she also went with childhood abuse was there, and there were lots of things that she suffered with. So how will you explain it with these three philosophies?
Well,
So
so basically, whatever she
she
has
went,
gone through in
I
her
mean,
life,
drug dealing was also there, and assault. So she faced all of these things, right? So there was like a pattern that happened in her life. So how will you? Yes, Saptarishi, please continue.
yes, basically, whatever she has gone through has caused some serious mental trauma or some serious psychological disorder in her that led her to commit crimes. So, in that sense, her crimes are very much related to the whatever traumatic past she had or the psychological disorder she had. So, this is the cause of whatever crime she has done. This is Pratyashma father. And ultimately, when she's saying that she was angry back then and now she has find peace, she is not the same person. Basically, she is actually saying that the moment she has committed the crime and the moment she is actually saying these words, so both of the persons are totally different. With experiences at times, she has actually been transformed into a different being. So, in this sense, this is Shaniyak, uh, Shanikavada basically means doctrine of momentariness, and ultimately, uh, there is no permanent soul or self. We can actually express that when she is actually giving importance to herself, I is the factor that she's talking about. Like she has actually experienced the traumatic past, and thus she is doing this crime. So basically, this victimization of her situation is causing toward this Nairatma.
Yes, the way she says that I was out of my mind, this shows that those emotions were changing, right? And this tells about
Yes,
Shanikavada, right? Manas, do
yes.
you want to say something?
No, ma'am, it is
Yes,
okay.
and also
Uh,
about Theravada, the self, the true self she talks about, right? First, which actually did seven men murder, and the second one, which where she was very calm, right? A woman who faced childhood trauma and faced all the things that in her life, right? Which made her to do this. So they were like three self, and they were not the same being. So both are aggregates and they are changing over time, right? Manas, do you want to explain something or say something?
no, ma'am.
Okay. Saptarishi?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You want to say something?
No, ma'am. Basically, I think that actually these people that they are committing the crime, they are not actually understanding that everything is connected and everything has some effect on each other. Like everything is connected and dependent on each other. When they are doing some actions, they are actually causing an effect on other people also. They are actually only thinking about themselves, but in reality, their actions is causing some serious problems for others. They are actually not thinking about this aspect of reality, like the connection between everything. Everything is connected. These things are not thought about them in that regard.
Okay, perfect. So after these three schools, what are the significance of Pratityasamutpada? As Buddhism is the first school to recognize that yes, there is existence of suffering. So first you have to understand that yes, there is existence of problem. So they recognize this dukkha, right? They say that yes, in this world, in ourselves, in our life, this dukkha, this suffering is existing, right? Then it talks about that we have to find out then what is the cause of this suffering. That why we are having this problem, these emotions, these planning. So why we are having this? So first you have to recognize that yes, you are having suffering, that dukkha is there, and then you have to understand that those causes are there, right, which are leading to dukkha, right? Then it comes with another philosophy which says that there is end. There is an end to these suffering. And these are basically, according to Buddhism, are both all connected together, right? So, what do you want to say about this, Saptadishi?
Well, basically, I think that for Buddhism, the sufferings that we actually have, they have causes. Like as Pratyashmapada Pratityasamutpada basically means that everything that actually continues or going through as basically have some causes, like our pain, pleasure, everything has a cause. So when we think about suffering, they also have some cause, and if actually we can stop the cause or remove the cause, then the effect, that is the suffering, also gets cancelled out. So in that sense, we can actually end our sufferings through right discipline, mindfulness, and right approach or discipline.
Yes. So, when it talks about suffering, it's basically saying that yes, dukkha exists. Then it talks about cause of suffering, which says samudaya, right? Then it says that there is end to suffering. There is a nirodha to this, right? And there is, then it talks about marga, right? So it talks about marga, which is liberation, right? So these are the things that Buddhism philosophy talks about, and we'll understand and learn all these one by one. So first thing is suffering, right? So this is what this truth, first truth says, that we are existing, right? There are causes, right, which are giving us this suffering, and this is what exactly the doctrine says, that everything arises because of conditions. And this is so true. If we think from this perspective, from today's perspective, so we all are running towards materialistic world, right? And this is giving us what? says that we are condemned to be free. Why? Because we are basically covered with responsibilities. We actually want to be free, but we are covered with these responsibilities, and this is like a web. And whenever we want to be free, we run towards more responsibilities, and those responsibilities give us more suffering. Right? What was his name,
Yes, ma'am.
Saptarshi? What was
Yes,
this?
yes, yeah, the name is Hegel, I think.
Yes. And then second truth says the causes of suffering. So what are the causes of suffering? Craving.
Cravings, clinging,
Yes. Ignorance.
feeling, Vedana,
Yes.
Trashna, Upadana, Bhava, these things.
Yes. Manas. Which are those?
Mainly, ma'am, mainly the cause of suffering is Trishna, the craving and clinging, ma'am.
Yes, and the third talks about Nirodha, which says that there is a cessation. We can remove these causes from ourselves, right? So if you remove the cause, the effect will also end. If craving ends, suffering also ends, right? Then we have liberation. How will have the liberation, Saptarishi?
To have liberation, we actually have to follow the Ashtangic mark that Buddhism talks about. We have to
So the
follow
path that
certain
contains.
disciplines in life.
Yes. Okay. So this is what it says. And when we talk about moral responsibilities, so Pratityasamutpada doesn't only explain how the world works, it also shapes how we should live, right? And he says that everything is connected. Our happiness depends on others. Our action affects the world around us. No one exists separately. We all are dependent. Do you agree with this?
Yes, ma'am.
How?
Well, basically, whatever we do, we actually have some serious effects on others also. Like if some, let's say, thief actually steals some uh, wealth from someone, that might help him to gain wealth, but this actually is causing serious problems for the people whom he is stealing from. So, in that sense, whatever our actions are, like whatever we do in our everyday life, actually have some effects on others around us.
Yes,
Seriously.
when you are stone in a pond, the ripples they spread everywhere, right? So everyone's actions affect everyone, right? So like in the examples, in the killer's example, what is a good example for the society? Are they going to give anything good to the society to us?
No, ma'am.
Manas, do you want to say something? You are quiet today.
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, so Buddhism is basically it emphasizes about ahimsa and ahimsa, right conduct, and compassion. Manas, what is compassion? How will you define it?
Compassion,
Okay,
ma'am,
what is
and
different between these three words? Sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Sympathy, empathy, and compassion. What is the difference between these three? What is sympathy to you? Okay, whatever the definition that you have according to you, you can say it. Manas, can you hear? Manas. Saptarishi, what is it?
Sympathy is basically feeling bad for someone. That's sympathy, like I am sympathetic to him, basically taking pity on someone. Empathy is basically feeling the pain that whatever the person is going through, like putting myself in the other shoes and understand the pain myself. That is empathy. And compassion is basically while understanding the pain actually putting some effort to do something about the pain and cause pleasure or stop the pain from sufferings of the other person, like putting some effort. That is compassion.
Oh, yes. Satoshi, can you give me an example of it? Like
Well,
if you have
yes, basically sympathy,
linking it today with today's example.
sympathy, empathy, and compassion. This thing.
Yes.
Well, sympathy is when actually we see any poor person or let's say someone begging in the road. I am feeling sad for them. Like they are going through some bad situation. I am feeling sad. So this is sympathy. I'm just pitying them that they are poor. But empathy is basically when some doctor is, or let's say some person is actually feeling the pain because they had some similar experiences or something like putting the shoes of the person that is in uh, uh, struggle or they are struggling. Actually, I am just feeling the same struggle that they are doing. So that is empathy. When doctors actually feel empathetic toward the patients they treat, that is empathy. And compassion is basically when actually we try to do something good for the people they are suffering, like some NGOs or civil societies. They are doing something good, providing food or providing clothes. These things can be actually uh, given as example of compassion.
Okay. So, how this suffering will end? By understanding, by realizing that by basically ignoring this. Ignorance the first step. We read 12 steps, right? And first one was ignorance. So once we'll understand and we'll avoid this, right? That this materialistic world is not a reality. And this eightfold path which we'll learn later on, and first then we'll understand the root cause of this suffering. Then only we'll have the liberation which it calls nirvana, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you understood all of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next we have Shanikavada, right? So basically, as it works only says, Shan means at some movement, and what is Vada means, Saptarishi?
Doctrine.
Yes. It says that everything exists only for a movement, right? And everything that is born arises and it perishes very instantly. So nothing continues to exist even for two movements. So existence is just a flow of continuous change. It's a flow of what? Continuous change. So like in the
Yes,
same
sir.
way, you cannot step at same water twice, right? Who gave this
Yes, sir.
theory?
Yes, sir. Aristotle gave the statement that one can't step into the same river.
Yes. So Buddhist thinker observe that everything in this world, whether physical or eternal, is basically constantly changing, right? For example, candle is there, right? When we lit it, then later on, what we find out about it?
Wax melts and ice strange with time.
Yes. And then another thing about the flame, that the flame is new every moment, right? The previous flames always
Yes,
go
sir.
out
Yes,
and new one arises, right? So this is what
yes,
we
sir.
understand from this. Then about human mind, art works also changes, feelings also changes constantly, right? What you used to think before, that has changed, right? This understanding has changed. So everything in this world changes, right? This is what Shanika Bala understood.
Yes, sir.
Now, why the momentariness. So basically, they saw that everything, that condition, right, that is everything that depends on causes and conditions, and must eventually end when the causes stop, right? So these things are not permanent substance, but they are basically permanent, only permanent process. They are temporary. And moment by moment they are going to change, right? So the idea of this Shanikavad was developed mainly by Sotrantika, and then rest of the school basically. So basically Sotrantika were the one who followed the Buddhism theory more deeply, right? They followed each and every school of it. Rest of the basically schools, they didn't follow Buddhism as Sotrantika was followed, right? So they use this doctrine to explain how reality, perception, and karma work without assuming any permanent resistance. And other Buddhist school, right? Like Yogacara was there. Is Manas here?
Yes, ma'am, he came back.
Yes, ma'am,
Yes.
I'm here.
Yes, like Yogacara, these schools they accepted the basic idea that everything is impermanent and moment, right? Though they explain it differently. But when it comes to Sotrantika, these early Buddhists, they basically understood these stories more deeply and followed it properly. Understood? So,
Yes.
when we talk about Shanikavada, they supports impermanence, suffering, and then no self. Right? Understood till here? Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Manas, explain it to me. Manas,
Yes, ma'am, I'm here, ma'am.
yes, explain it.
Shanikavada doctrine, ma'am, Shanikavada or
No,
Ratnavada?
Shanikavada, Shanikavada.
Shanikavada is the doctrine of momentariness. It says that everything exists for a moment. Then in the next moment, it ceases to exist. It is also associated with the Sotran Sotrantika school.
So, Pratikas,
Yes, that
yes,
mainly believes in the sutras rather than the Abhidharma commentaries.
yes. Okay. Now we are going to understand. Now we are going to understand the ontology. What is ontology? Rishi.
Ontology is basically means the existence of God's self, soul, these things, right?
Manas,
The, the
Ma'am,
discussion
ontology is
about
the
God.
theory of being. It is the
Turio.
theory of being. It it talks about existence, ma'am.
Yes, it questions and it basically asks questions like what is real and what it exists. So it as we know what Buddhism theory was, right? So what do you think? What ontology was according to Buddhism? How Buddhism might have defined it?
I think I think Buddhism actually talks that there is no permanent existence or like that. They rejected permanent soul. For them, there is no permanent self as such. They rejected the idea of some higher being like God, and they gave importance to the present self. Like whatever moment we are living in, they gave importance to this moment, the present moment. Everything.
Yes. So basically, it talks about the ontology of Shanikavada is that the world is not made of permanent things or substance, but of momentary things, right? And when movement is real, when it only exists. At the next moment, it is really gone. Only when it is exists, right? So this was the ontology of Shanikava, right? So a thing does not continue from one moment to another. When we call the same object is actually a series of similar but different movements. So these movements are connected through casual relations. Understood? Can you
Yes, ma'am.
give me an example of it apart from the examples that I gave to you? Manas, Manas. Okay, so Rishi, how does the cause and effect work in Buddhism?
Well, I Buddhism actually talks about how cause and effect actually have effect on each other. Like for him, if for Buddhism, every effect has a cause. Without any cause, there is no effect. Like if we remove the cause from the existence, the effect also disappears or vanishes. Like if we actually change the cause, the effects also has changes. So thus, for them, actually they uses this idea regarding suffering also. Like suffering exists because of some cause, and we actually we remove the cause, then the suffering also cease to exist, and thus they are actually describing the idea of how cause and effect are actually dependent on each other, and how effect exists because of the existence of the cause.
Yes, so basically it talks about that each movement creates the next movement, just like there is a spark creating the other spark, right? So this is how one movement creates the other movement, and everything is connected, right? And nothing is permanent. So
Yes, sir.
these are the two things, and they both basically all three are dependent on each other. Basically, Buddhism theory itself proves about dependent origination, right? That everything is connected. They all are dependent on each other. All these theories, three theories of Buddhism are dependent on each other, right? So which of the
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
which of the theory it proves? What was the name of the theory, Saptarshi?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the theory which proves about the dependent origination?
Pratityasamutpada.
Yes, yes. For example, we can take that a teacher basically like he teaches you today, right? And tomorrow the exact moment of teaching is gone, right? But the effect and what that effect is, you learning. It is going to be there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? That effect of you learning is going to stay there. It continues because that movement produces another movement of knowledge in your mind. This is how it happens. Like in last class we were discussing about these three stories, and now you have this effect of learning today also. It's there, it's existing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So with this we understood that there is no permanent substance and change is only constant, and the illusion is basically of stability. So these are the things that we got to learn, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anything you want to say, Manas? Manas, can you explain it? So from this we understood that everything is only for a movement, and one thing causes another thing, and this opposes the Western philosophy. Whose philosophy is it opposes? There was a philosopher who says that there is no cause and effect, only one event is causing the another one. Who was the philosopher, Western philosopher?
Hume said that there is no cause and effect. They are actually just happening one after another.
What was his theory? What did he say?
He talks about two balls. Like if one ball actually hits the other ball moves. One doesn't actually uh, have. We can't actually say that this effect has caused because of this reason. We have an habit, a mental habit to actually accept whatever is happening in the past may happen in the future, but we can't actually believe that thing that every cause and every effect has the same cause and effect. Like,
Yes, it talks
and
about
other
when,
than that, and
yes,
other than that, Spinoza also actually talks about how so cause and effect is nothing there. There is no cause and effect. Every event is just happening at the same time parallelly. And when we actually see that the any event is happening after an event is basically happening at the same time. They are not happening because of this event. They are just happening at the parallelly with each other. So Spinoza also
Yes,
actually talked about an idea like this.
yes, he says that if ball A is hitting ball B, then it is not because of cause and effect. There is an event occurring between these two. There is an event occurring which is there is a force which is making it, hit the ball B. So there is no basically cause and effect that we can see, right? And he gave example
Yes,
of different things. And in the class also I explained it to you with giving example of electricity that how you cannot see
yes,
it,
sir.
but there is something that is causing it, right? So this is how he
Yes, sir.
explained it. Understood till here?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Manas, do you want to say something? Add something to it?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Thank you. I had some network issues.
Okay. Next we have relation between Pratityasamutpada and Shanikavada. So Pratityasamutpada means dependent origination, right? And Shanikavada means momentariness. Now both what relation they might have. So basically, as its philosophy, Buddhism philosophy already says that everything is connected, right? In this world, everything is connected. There is a relation to it. So just like that, just as Buddhism theory proves itself, the relation between Pratityasamutpada and Shanikavada has been given. So what do you think? What the relation between these two is?
Well, I think that when Pratityasamutpada basically means that everything has a cause, every effect has a cause, and the origination is due to some reason. We can say that whenever we changes the reason or cause, the effect also changes. The momentary changes between these events because of the change of the cause is actually leading towards the doctrine of momentariness, that is Samyuktabhava.
Yes.
So
So
in
basically,
that sense, they are interlinked with each other.
yes. So it says that possession can never happen between permanent things, right? It also only happens with temporary things. Manas, do you want to say something in this?
Ma'am.
For example, a flame lights another flame, right? The first one goes out, but the next one continues the fire. So similarly, one movement causes another, and the first movement perishes, but it leaves effect behind it, right? Just like we were reading something in the previous class, but there is effect of learning it today also. This is why we are continuing this series. This is how we are continuing this learning Indian philosophy, right? There are some effects that was left by Jainism theory, right? Then that were left by Charvak theory, and that's how we are understanding Buddhism theory. So there is a connection which is making us grow, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and this is how dependent origination happens, movement by movement. And now let's understand that how Pratitya Samutpada is connected to Sharnikavada. So Pratitya Samutpada says that nothing exists on its own, right? So this means for something to continue, it needs constant support. And who that support will be? And now imagine that if that constant support is changes, then the things also changes. So it cannot last
Yes,
even
sir.
for years, right? So, for example, a plant exists because of soil, water, sunlight, and air, right? If one condition
Yes, sir.
changes, right? If one condition changes, right? Like good soil is not there,
Yes, sir.
water is not there, right? If one of the factors is not there, then do you think this plant will grow?
No, man.
Minus.
Ma'am,
So
it
this
might take
shows that
time.
existence is temporary, right, and very dependent. And exactly what Shanikavada says, right? So there is this one common message that both of the doctrines says that the world is dynamic and it's not static, and existence is conditional and it's changing, right? So there is no fixed substance or eternal self that we have. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So Pratitya Samutpada talks about
Cause and effect. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And Shanikawa talks about duration.
Momentariness. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, duration, right? So they have this common feature. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, basically, from these connections and connecting these two, from this we understood that flow dependent movement is not, set of unchanging things. So there are like these applications. First is that no permanent soul is there, and this supports Nirvana, right? And then it explains about karma and rebirth also, and it explains about suffering and liberation also. So karma and birth, and it explains about suffering and liberation. Sapirishi,
Yes, ma'am.
can you explain it?
Yes, ma'am. Basically, the relation, as Buddhism has talks about the three schools of ideas of Buddhism are interconnected. Likewise, Pratityasamutpada and Shanik, Shanikavada are both related, and as they are both dependent on each other. Uh, Basically, Pratityasamutpada basically means dependent origination, like they talk about cause and effect. And when actually we talk about causation, the idea that with the changes of causes, the effect also changes. This idea actually leads toward the momentariness of any event, like the changes of different moments, time to time. With time, the changes of different events actually lead to the idea of Shaniktavada, that changes the moments that changes with time. This idea actually leads toward the concept of karma, or whatever we are doing actually affecting the life of others, and thus the concept of rebirth and liberation has comes into effect. Like whatever we do in our life actually have an effect on our life as well as the life of others around us, and this actually is the Shaniktabada, that the momentary changes actually has effect on our life, and ultimately that leads toward our moksha or liberation from the cycle of life.
Yes, perfect. Manas, do you want to add something?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So when we talk about Nirvana, Nir means no, right? Atma means soul, and Vada means doctrine. And what it says that there is no concept of I, right? So now because Buddhism philosophy believes in momentariness, right? Everything is existing for a certain particular time, right? So it does not believe in self, in soul, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
Buddha, he taught that we call I or me is not a real or fixed entity. It is just a collection of changing parts. And what are those changing parts? These feelings, these emotions that we carry in ourselves, right? They keep on changing, right? So one moment you are feeling something, the another moment you are feeling another thing, right? So this is what it says, that you have these constant different feelings arising in you. So there is no self that exists forever. Only a flow of momentary experiences are there. So person you think you really is actually a bundle of processes, not a basically a proper personal thing, right? In
Yes, ma'am.
previous examples where we were discussing those killers also, they said the same thing, right? That the person who did all those crimes was different than the person who is standing in front of you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So you can think of it like of a car also, that when you remove its wheel, engine, seat or frame, there is no car left, right? It was just a name for the combination of parts. So similarly, you are
Yes,
just
ma'am.
a name of group, for a group of body, for mind parts, so working together, not a separate permanent soul, right? So this is what it says, and then it differs with Hindu and Vedanta, Sankhya or Nyaya philosophy. How it differs? Why? Because
Well, in Vedanta philosophy, we are talking about one Atman or Brahma, the idea of one singular fundamental being. And Buddhism actually saying that there is no permanent soul, and thus they are very much uh, differentiating from the ideas of Vedanta.
yes, if you remember, then philosophers they these believe in Atma, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it believes in self, Purusha, right? So these theories, these other
Yes,
Indian philosophy theories, they have different theories about Atma and soul, right? But when it comes to Buddhism, it doesn't believe in it, right? So if we observe, we will see that everything we call I is changing, right? Your body changes, your emotion changes, your thought changes, even your personality changes over time. So this is why Buddhism says that there is no fixed self that remains the same through all these, changes. Understood?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Saptarishi?
No, ma'am.
Manas?
No, ma'am.
Sure. Okay. So, so now we have understood that Naritimavada is basically connected to its previous theories, other two theories also. How, Saptarishi?
Well, when actually we are saying that every moment changes, there is no permanent or continuing moment or self is actually Shaniktavada. Basically means we are living in moments, and when we are living in moments, we are basically there is no permanent self or soul. Our self is already changing with experiences, observations, and actions, and thus there is no permanent self. The idea of permanent self just vanishes, and thus this leads to the idea of Narit, Naritma Vada, the doctrine of non-self.
Yes. So basically, they all try to together. They are trying to prove that everything is momentary and both are like all of them are dependent, right? Nothing is permanent in
Yes,
this
ma'am.
world, right? Understood till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next, let's understand. Can you give me an example apart from the like what I gave it to you? Like we took example of fire,
Oh,
we took example of water. Any other example
yes,
that
ma'am.
you
I
want?
think Yes, ma'am. I think that Gautam Buddha actually wanted to say that the life, the death, these things, or the wealth, these things are all in the moment. They are not permanent, and thus we should not actually cry about these things. We should not cry about some death or wealth because these things, there is no permanent self or any material that's not permanent. So with time, this everything changes with time. Our life also changes with time, so we should not actually stick to the past or cry for our past. We actually look toward future and live in the present, and thus we can actually describe the ideas of these three ideas we can actually use in our life from the teachings of Gautam Buddha.
Yes. So the hidden meaning that Buddhism wanted to say is that once we remove this concept of I, right, then we remove the concept of ego also from ourselves, right? And if this is removed, this concept that my happiness matters, right? I am important, right? This is my thing. So this structure of basically this solipsistic behavior that we come up with. So if this is removed, then there will be like a balanced society and we'll try to do something more about the people, more for the people, right? More for the society, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Manas, do you want to say something?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
So basically, this thinking about my mind and my happiness, basically this leads to compassion, about karuna and detachment, right? Compassion
Yes, ma'am.
and detachment. And how it affects us, Saptarishi?
Well, when we actually remove the concept of I from our life, or the importance of I from the life of ours, then we can actually understand the different aspects of the reality that is different from our own view. Like Anikanta Bada says that there are very multiple perceptions, the perspective aspects of the same truth. When we actually remove this concept of I, then we can actually understand different aspects of the truth, and thus we can give importance toward the sufferings of different people, and we can be more empathetic toward their cause, their pain, and thus we can be compassionate. We can have karuna for them and actually work toward the well-being of the society, the people who are suffering, and this will actually lead toward the betterment of the society as a whole.
So, if you remember, you said in the previous class we were discussing something, and we were discussing that if a person is dying, and then suddenly he realized that he have very less time, and then he'll start working towards himself and towards his loved ones, right? And he'll stop thinking about himself, right? So this was the
Yes,
fear that he had, right? So how will you link that
yes.
example to this concept of I?
Well, when actually someone is facing death, they understand the momentariness of life. There is no permanent self, or no one is immortal. Our life is very much shorter, and when persons understand the momentariness of our life, then they actually look beyond the concept of I. That what the actual actual reality is. We actually we are actually trapped in this concept of I. Our soul is trapped, always thinking about ourselves, our well-being, how to live longer, how to gain wealth. But when we actually face death, these concepts actually starts disappearing. We actually look beyond ourselves to the real idea of happiness, pleasure, and then actually we start living our life. We actually do something useful for the society, for the people around us, and thus the usefulness or the importance of our life comes to effect.
Okay. Manas, if a person is there who is dying and suddenly, basically he was going through some sickness and doctor says that there is like no cure to it. But later on that cure came and he got to know that he is going to live very long and healthy life. Right? So what is the difference that you'll see in these two conditions, the behavior he'll have? What kind of behavior he'll have in these two conditions?
Uh, in the first condition, he will be sad. The reason of
Okay.
his sadness is non-availability of treatment. In the other condition, he will be happy, and the reason for his happiness will be the availability of the treatment or the medicine.
In the first condition, the sadness and fear. So the work that he'll be doing, will it be for himself or for the society? Manas,
Ma'am, I'm unable to comprehend this.
sorry.
Ma'am, I'm unable to comprehend this, ma'am.
Okay. Saptarishi.
Well, it varies from person to person. Like when they face death, some person might think that as the life is so short, I actually have to think about myself. But whatever things gives me joy, I should do this. But some people will think that this idea of I is just a random thought, which I actually have to look beyond this idea and to look towards society and whatever legacy I can leave behind, what I can do for the society. These things can happen to the person. So I think the idea that causes that thinking about society or the self is actually changes with person to person and varies with different mental aspects of different people.
Yes. So from this we have understood the two terms, the anicca, which is basically impermanence, right? And the another one, suffering, right? Which is dukkha, right? Understood? Till here, any
Yes, ma'am.
confusion or anything you want to
No, ma'am.
discuss?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so we'll discuss comparison of these three doctrines in the next class. So we'll end it for now. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Saptarshi and others.
Thank you. Thank you, my
Thank you,
dear.
ma'am.